Hey guys, what's up? All right. It's Double Deuce back with an update. I've been kind of extinct for a while, and I can get to some of that, but I can't get to all of it. But anywho, um, today we're going through boxes of stuff. You see all these boxes sitting in the back there? Uh, it's it's just RC stuff that you know. Now I got the time to actually go through it, and so if you want, accept my apology because I thought you guys were ready to shoot me. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't done nothing in a while. I've answered limited questions, but anywho, grab your favorite smoke, beverage, and popcorn, and hang out with Double Deuce today, because we're gonna go through a little nostalgia, I guess, of RC stuff on all my upcoming segments because um, I'm limited to that right now. So don't be scared. I ain't scared. So you guys just, like I say, do your thing and get ready, get comfortable, and let's do the video. Okay, so there's been a lot of changes in my life. Um, Suddenly, you just wake up one day and like I guess your number's up. I don't know, and normally we live very organized lives. They're structured and all that stuff. But just one day, your life will change. And amongst all the RC stuff all through the years, I've always been, hey, you know what? Just be cool. Let's do the RC. Open up your mind, because you can do that. But sometimes in our lives, things, external stuff, like life, jobs, people, they all seem to they're bored. I think they try to, like, jealous, I don't know, and try to ruin your life. Well, mine got stomped into the ground. And so after I got up, dusted myself off again, I was like, my time now. It's my time. Like, these people can all, do what they want. They can actually, well, there was a guy I used to work for, and this could be a warning for the children. You can jump in a barrel and jerk all yourselves off, because I'm not playing that game. I'm going back to my way. And I've always done that all my life, and I've always tried to bring you guys positive content. But then again, sometimes there's not positive things that goes on in our lives. And, it's like, and I can't talk about any of these yet. I will put a video up later, because it's the way of the world right now. So be prepared. Throw a little few bucks on the side, get equity in something, save your money. I got ahead of it, fortunately. I did. But I was just on the edge of the surfboard before the wave took me down. And so, like I say, I got up, dusted myself off, and here we are. So I've been going through stuff because I'm very limited as far as walking right now. So my son came over one day, and I was sitting there watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives for the 7th millionth time, and he just stared at me, and he goes, dude, like, get up, let's fucking hobble around, let's do what we gotta do, and, let's break out my late son's Camaro out of the trailer. So it seriously took me about 2 hours to get out back.
Hold it down a little bit. Almost.
Good. Because I'm walking with a cane right now, and and until I heal, I have to keep that thing. And there's a bunch of, I guess, it gets complicated. I'll put it that way, and I will put it all in a video later. Don't ever, ever let somebody else tell you something that you don't want to hear. Okay? That's all I can say right now. And, you know, we have rights, and we have a constitution in America still to this day. And once your rights are violated, guess what? Game on, you know. So, anyways, my son went downstairs. He cleaned out my basement of all my ex-wife's stuff, and you know, like, I think we had band members here. I had ex-girlfriends. He had ex-girlfriends all through the years. My late son had ex-girlfriends that dropped stuff off here, and it was like a landing point. It was like a landfill of garbage, of, you know, things from their past, pots and pans. It's crazy, you know, what they left here. And so we got a big dumpster one day, and he just filled it. You know, I sat out on the front porch early in the morning, watching like all the really sad looks on people's faces while they had to go to work, and I was sitting there just smiling because I was one of those people at one time. You know, sometimes I like to go to Dunkin' Donuts and leave like 7 car spaces in front of me, just like they did to me when I was trying to get to work. You know, and it's kind of a good feeling to realize that, you know, I hate to put stress on people, but they did it to me, and I remember those cars. I remember those ones that, you know, weren't focused. And, you know, because I was a routine guy. I'd go there every day at the same time and all this stuff. And, you know, when you remember that same guy in that same car that just sits there clueless to the world, you have to really think about it later on. After I left those 7 car spaces, I thought, you know what? What if that guy went through what I was going through? Because I was behind him, and I was really frustrated. I was about ready to put the old Tahoe in 4-low and just drive him through the drive-through, and then just pay for his meal later and apologize, you know? Because I'm older and I got better insurance. So, you know, it is what it is. But my son went downstairs while he was cleaning out the basement. He brought up a bunch of boxes of really old RC stuff. And so I'm going to start going through those things. You know, they're really unorganized. They're in bags and boxes and everything else. And everybody's always wanted to see my collection. Now, through the years, there's some stuff that, you know, has been sealed up so tight that we thought, well, we'll save those for last. So I don't know what's going to go on here. But for now, we're going to take this box right here, and we're going to start with the top bag. This top bag is a steering box that I was building for the Tamiya Bruiser way back in the day. You see I got a bunch of bearings here, and I got a worm gear. I got, you know, the matching worm gear in here with shafts. Now these here, a lot of people have asked me about these gears right here. These are out of the Ford truck headlight adjusters in the 90s. So if you go to the junkyard and you see those really nasty, gray, moldy headlights, you just buy them. You probably get them for a couple of bucks. Because nobody cares about that, even if it's broken. You just want the gears out of it. These are pot metal gears, and some are threaded, and some are not. But if you got a tap, you can thread them and make what you want. Now this here is the worm gear match to the steering box I was making here, like so, for the Bruiser. All right, now I'll try to let you guys see this. That's what I was making, and then I went to the hardware store and I got this brass, I don't know if it's a gas or a fuel, no, it's actually a fuel fitting, and it sits inside this, which is metal, which I could actually weld things to, you know. So over time, you know, you got so many things going on, the hobby and in your life, you forget. Then I remembered that I bought, oh, this is from the Orlando Hunter. You see what that is right there? That's actually a mini universal joint where I think they're 12 scale. And I thought, wow, that would be perfect for a steering shaft to come down through. I could hide the servo underneath the dash, hook it to the steering wheel, and roll it, you know. But then I looked at how puny that was, and I thought, you know, you get into some tough situations on a 1/10 scale or 1/8 scale build. I don't think that U-joint's gonna last. So it went back in a bag. I never got a chance to test it. You know what I mean? It was just a, you know, bunch of reoccurring thoughts and events, because you're actually stabbing in the dark to come up with something cool. But, you know, and then all of a sudden they were buying the like the Tamiya semi turnbuckles that bolted to the frame. I bought a bunch of those because it was just easier. They were bearing fitted, and you know, I got a few of those on my Bruiser project. Now there's a few bags of nuts and bolts, stuff, hardware from different projects. And you know, it's funny how you go back to the hardware store and you're like, oh, I need these nuts, but you know, you got bags of them in your box that you forgot about. And then I look in here and I got RC four-wheel drive. Oh, they were like the Jeep metal fenders, and I used the rear ones on my Capo JK Max because the second version was an off-road version, and they didn't have like rear fenders on it. Now, as we get the different bags, I got turnbuckles. Excuse me. RC four-wheel drive stuff. I got rims. I got a speed controller. Damn, it's a taser. I'm thinking this came in one of the 1/10 scale projects that I had. Excuse me. Now, this bag here, I totally forgot about this bag. So we're going to open it up, and there is so much stuff in this bag. Sometimes I do that. You keep it all in one bag and you forget you had it. So there's rim spacers, okay? And I got hubs, knuckles that are and rotors from Vanquish. Remember that company back in the day, Vanquish? Hold on, let me stand up here. Clear my throat, because I do have a little bit of nose run. Then I bought the aluminum hubs with the bearing inserts, and I put lug nuts in them, just for scale. What else we got? Oh, we got the caps. Remember these? Got more disc brakes, spindles, adapters, more Vanquish calipers that don't work. See, but over time, all this stuff went in the bag. Now I got all this hardware here, and I know some of it's from the RC four-wheel drive Clodbuster stuff, because there was like 65 bolts per wheel, and when I was trying to put a video up, I only put so much up. But and I usually keep all the bags. That way I know what things were when I bought them. Okay, we got the RC four-wheel drive worn stickers. More nuts and bolts. More hardware. I got this is just in this one box, you know. Now this here is interesting because this came, these were the 1/12 scale Russian axles that came in their big semis, and I converted my Bruiser to, or my HDP 407 to regular wheels and tires and adapters and all this stuff. So I didn't use those. So, and sometimes you realize that the bolt patterns don't match up to this or that, you know. Vanquish has always been really, really consistent on their stuff. So then we get to the bottom of the bag here, and the RC four-wheel drive 2-speed transmission. These are the axle shafts that go through the gearbox. I bought extra ones because, you know me, I can't like live with you know, like a 540 motor or can motor. I got to get something that's brushless, or, you know, it's got to make a statement in my eyes, you know. Or, well, I'm going to put one of these engines in here, you know what I mean, whether it's the system, the toy into a project later on one of those gearboxes, you know. And the only problem with those gearboxes, none of them had reverse, because you just flip the switch and reverse the electric motor. So, and to this day, all these engines that they've made, you know, they're getting better and better, don't get me wrong, but they've never addressed a proper clutch for the size of the build you want to make. And these engines have plenty of power for that. And to me, it should be like at least a helicopter clutch, big, you know. And the little ones, if you're going to put this engine in a really small build, which is kind of corny, but it's fun. I've done it before. It's like putting a big block in a Vega. I've done that, or like a 429 in a Pinto, and my buddy did that, and, you know, you break stuff, you know. Clutches don't last, all that stuff, rear ends. But over time, hopefully, we'll all get together with a good plan to say, okay, we need this for this, this for that, and it can be made. If they can sit down and take like a year to develop something like an engine, they can make a clutch. I mean, seriously, and they'll probably make more money off that clutch than they will that engine in the end, if you think about it. So, you know, that's just common sense. And I know, I hate to say this, but I don't think all these companies know what that is anymore. They just see at a board table, all right, we're going to make this, and we're going to make $200,000 off of it. Yeah, and they all pat each other on the back, drink their coffees, and go to lunch and have beers later, and you know, and they all got funding for it. But you know what? It's only 200 grand. You know, if you think about it, if you really, everybody pulled their heads out of their butts, you had this gigantic pop around the world where they could actually like bring everything together all in one little mainstream thing. You know, that would be cool. So, but for now, I'm going to keep going through bags and finding stuff, and I got a complete HDP 407 in a box I totally forgot I bought. And it's, you know, things like that you find. And I got totes and totes of Bruiser stuff, gas stuff, I mean, tires from, like, seriously, like the dawn of time, like the 80s, you know. Kyosho tires, I realized, and I found out they don't last the test of time. The rubber that Kyosho used to make those tires just turns into goo and just melts down like it's, it's like melting a candle. They just melt it like over the rim. It's horrible, and it's sticky, messy, and your hands are all black. It's like you got tar on your hands, you know. But some of the Tamiya stuff, most of the Tamiya stuff, and some of these other brands that I bought, the tires are really holding up in storage, which is cool. Because sometimes I buy boxes of stuff, and I buy extra sets of things, you know. And, you know, you try to take advantage of today's price when you're investing in a project. And, you know, it's just one of those things you do, and then you find out later that, wow, these didn't last, you know. But that's how we learn. This is how everything evolves in the hobby. And there's guys like me out there that are telling you, hey, you know what, don't buy the Kyosho tires, you know, don't try to store them because they're not going to last. You're not going to have extra sets of them. You know, when you open the box, it's going to be pudding over the rim. So, but anyways, guys, I'm glad to be back, and I will come up with more videos and stuff. And I want to thank everybody for the welfare check on me, because when I disappeared there, I had so many comments, and you know, and I was like, I just couldn't get to that creative thing that we do on YouTube in our hobby. So I had creator's block, if you want to say that. You know, sometimes when you get beaten to the ground, you know, and you get up and you're dusting yourself off, you're like wondering what the hell just happened. But you know, it's not a bad thing, because I'll take one for the team, and I did. And you know what? I'm still here, and you're going to go through this in your life too sometimes. So don't worry, everything will be fine. Just watch my old videos, and you know, you'll see that I involve life, fun, current events, and everything in my videos. So now I really went above and beyond the call in this video, because it's actually going on 21 minutes now, which is one of my longer videos. So I'm gonna shut my big yap, and I'm gonna have some smoke, beverage, and popcorn, and chill out today because it's Sunday. But I'm glad to be back, and I missed everybody. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being there for me, and I'll catch you later. Adios.